update or any other details that might come through to give us some indicator of where the situation stands for now, we'll bring it to you as soon as possible. But for now, I'm going to stick with this. We're going to leave this shot up for as long as we have it. We've also got this second vantage point a little bit higher up, giving you a wider look at the scene. Of course, visibility limited due to some of the buildings there.
Did you get your phone on the charger, Amy?
The video journalist over the WPRI zooming in.
Hey,
And I'll just say, what we've been watching this scene play out for the past 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, go charge it.
It's really just been
If it's not at least at 70 when you leave, you're not
you can
taking
see
it.
one
Because
responding
it's gotta be at
officer
70%.
preparing a weapon
Because so it has
as
battery
he
the
was
whole
pulling up to the
time.
scene. So very much an active situation, certainly an active investigation as police continue to respond to what's being reported as an active shooter on Brown University's campus. I will read out the alert that the university sent out to students. It reads as follows. First urgent, this is an urgent alert. There's an active shooter near Barris and Holly Engineering. Lock doors, silence phones, and stay hidden until further notice. Remember, run if you are in the affected location. Evacuate safely if you can. Hide if evacuation is not possible. Fight as a last resort. Take action to protect yourself. Stay tuned for further information. We do not know much more than there's been a report of an active shooter at this campus. We know police are responding. We know that WPRI has spoken with at least one witness. One of my main questions is how active is a campus like this on a Saturday around 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern time? Presumably, at some point, we get some sort of official update from emergency responders. If we get an on-camera update, we'll be sure to bring that to you live if we get the feed in real time. And for now, we simply work with what we can see. And what we see here is at least a couple blocks being taken over by this police response. Not entirely clear to me exactly when this was called in to dispatch and how long police have been on scene at Brown. We're also behind the scenes here looking for any update from the university itself, from law enforcement or emergency response agencies in the area. We'll be looking out for perhaps an update from any other witnesses that may have seen something. Again, WPRI is the station bringing us this feed, and every so often it's not uncommon for people to step up to these cameras and give some quick testimony. That's why I'm sticking with this for now, just in case we do happen upon somebody who can lend some context to this information that we just simply do not know too much about at this early stage of the investigation. We do know that Brown University has alerted students. They call this an active shooter. They alerted students to lock doors, silence phones, and stay hidden. That alert was sent out at about 4:50 local time. I am seeing reports that one suspect is in custody. That is not something that we here at Live Now have been able to independently confirm. But just one more piece of context to glean from some of the reports coming out of the area. We certainly do know that University Police and police with the city of Providence are on scene. We've seen them on scene. In fact, the Providence Police Department saying there is currently heavy police and fire presence on Hope Street near Brown. Please exercise caution and avoid this area until further notice. So they're working on this, and we're doing what we can to get as much information as quickly and responsibly on air as possible. I'm going to mute my microphone for a moment here, and I'm going to pull up the raw audio from the scene. We're going to do some fact-finding here in the newsroom. So we are hearing more from our news wires, the Associated Press. And again, if you're just joining us right now, it might, okay, so we're hoping that this feed doesn't drop on us. This is the lone feed we have on the ground at Brown University. Now, we're hearing from the Associated Press that police are responding to this active shooter situation. They say that a suspect is in custody. So the AP confirming this. Officials saying that a suspect is in custody. So that's one new piece of information. The incident has been reported near Barris and Holly building. That, according to the AP, is a 7-story structure that houses the School of Engineering and Physics Department. It includes 117 laboratories, 150 offices, 15 classrooms, 29 labs. Appears to be a place where, again, the engineering and physics departments are housed. The AP says officials are still gathering information from this active scene. We are hearing that the police have a public information officer on scene, so presumably that means that we here in the media will be able to get reliable information out to you as soon as possible. Brown University is a private, non-profit institution. It has about 7,300 undergraduates and just over 3,000 graduate students, according to its website. It does look like WPRI is getting ready for a live hit when there are reporters there, so we'll step away from their ground vantage point for a moment, and we'll move to this camera that's more or less overlooking a piece of the skyline over Brown University. You can see some of those lights and sirens, about a 2-block radius, as I see it. The AP says today is the second day of final exams for the fall semester, so very much possible, despite it being, about 4 or 5 p.m. when this happened on the East Coast, second day of finals. You question how busy this campus was at the time of the incident. And I'll just reset because it does look like we're getting some new people tuning in. Let's hit the reset button here. Here's what we know so far. Police are responding to an active shooter situation. This is taking place on the campus of Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. The school's alert system sending out a message telling students to shelter. Officials, this is just what we've learned in the last few minutes here. Officials are saying a suspect is in custody. So unclear to us if that changes the dynamic of if there is still an active shooter on campus. As of now, we have not been told that they're dropping that line of language. We are still hearing that this is in fact an active shooter, but there are reports coming from the Associated Press that a suspect is in custody. The incident taking place near a building called the Barris and Holly building. This, according to the AP, is a 7-story structure that houses the School of Engineering and Physics departments. It includes 117 laboratories, 150 offices, 15 classrooms, and 29 labs. Brown is an Ivy League school, it's a private school, got about 7,300 undergraduates, and just over 3,000 graduate students, according to its website. Today is the second day of final exams for the fall semester, we're hearing. So unclear to us how busy this campus was at the time of this incident. We're waiting for official word from Brown. We're waiting for further official word from the law enforcement agencies in the region. One piece of information that I've seen is the actual text that was sent out to students. I'll read it verbatim. It says this: "There's an active shooter near Barris and Holly Engineering. Lock doors, silence phones, and stay hidden until further notice. Remember, run if you are in the affected location, evacuate safely if you can, hide if evacuation is not possible, fight as a last resort. Take action to protect yourself if necessary. Stay tuned for further information. That's the last I've seen from Brown University. And I am looking, and we are scouring the news wires and any other channels where we may get an update. In fact, I'm seeing from Brown University 5 minutes ago. Okay, this is new to me. Brown University posted on X 5 minutes ago. They say, continue to shelter in place. Remain away from Barris and Holly area. Police do not have a suspect in custody and continue to search for suspects. Brown coordinating with multiple law enforcement agencies on site. Okay, so that refutes what the Associated Press was reporting moments ago. We had read the Associated Press's reporting on air moments ago, saying that a suspect was in custody.
I cannot hear the music, no.
Looks like we have an audio interruption there. Again, a reporter getting ready for a live hit. I wanted to take that camera for a moment, though, because we're starting to see some of this heavy-duty equipment pulling up to the scene. So Brown is saying, continue to shelter in place, remain away from Barris and Holly area. I'll underscore this part. Police do not have a suspect in custody, and they continue to search for suspect or suspects. The university is coordinating with multiple law enforcement agencies on the site right now. So, back to this live vantage point. WPRI in Providence, bringing us to the scene. There's more police calling up as it appears a suspect could still be on the loose. And the way Brown phrases it is suspect or suspects. So it sounds like there's not a whole lot of clarity as to how many people may be involved with this. Something we do not have confirmed on our end is if there are any casualties. And if there are casualties, how many? Simply details that we do not know at this point. Going back to our bird's eye view of Brown University. So I'll again amend what I read on the Associated Press earlier today, or earlier in the hour. The AP and a couple of other news outlets I saw had reported that a suspect was in custody. Brown University, just moments ago, refuting that, saying police do not have a suspect in custody. Anybody in the area should continue to shelter in place and remain away from Barris and Holly area. The university is coordinating with multiple law enforcement agencies on site. And by the way, this was the report that came, and I have to underscore this, because we showed this on air earlier. Brown University has since said, suspect not in custody. The school says, anybody in the area should remain away from the scene, shelter in place if you need to, because police are still searching for a suspect or suspects. We here at Live Now are sharing as much as we can. The way these things go, by the way, is we work with preliminary information in the early stages of situations like this. WPRI, looking like they're zooming in, as looked like one of those heavy-duty vehicles was trying to move closer to the scene. So certainly some of this heavy-duty equipment and some of these officers wearing the bulletproof vests, moving closer into the scene there, armed. So we're learning more, just as you're learning more. We watch along with you, and I'm continuing. It seems like the most expeditious source of information at this point is keeping an eye on Brown University's X page. 9 minutes ago, we heard that the shelter in place is still in effect. Police do not have a suspect in custody, and multiple law enforcement agencies are on the scene coordinating this response. I'm going to mute my microphone for a moment here We're going to do some more fact-finding behind the scenes. Be back with you in a moment. We're going to leave these live vantage points while we do some fact-finding.
AP just corrected.
So you're hearing every once in a while, that's WPRI's feed. So every once in a while, what you're hearing basically is their reporter and their operating room, their control room, in communication with each other. As they were alluding to, there was some reporting from a number of news outlets, including the Associated Press, saying that the suspect was in custody. We have since learned from Brown University that a suspect is not custody. For a suspect or suspects, they appear not to have a level of clarity on how many people may be involved in the situation. The simple directive that Brown University has given, for now, for anybody in the area, is continue to shelter in place. Especially remain away from Barris and Holly area. That's what they're saying. Remain away from this area. Police do not have a suspect in custody, and they're continuing to search for suspects. We do have a law enforcement expert that's going to be joining us here in the next few minutes. We're going to connect with Jamie Copenhagen here shortly. He'll give us some insight into how these things work, especially when we know so little in the early moments of things like this. We certainly know that a large emergency response, and let's zoom out a bit. Yeah, so this is the wider angle that gives you an idea of how wide this scene spreads, or at least how wide this response is spread. Back down to the ground level, where we're working on getting that. They did interview one witness moments ago. We weren't able to catch it. We're doing our best to re-rack that and see if we can bring you at least a little bit of what somebody who's near the scene perhaps saw or heard earlier in the evening. The time is just about 5:30 on the East Coast, approaching 5:30 in Providence. We do see that more people are joining us. So let's reset and just tell you everything we know at this point. Police are responding to an active shooting right now on campus at Brown University. This is in Providence, Rhode Island. Officials initially told the Associated Press that a suspect was in custody, before saying that that was not in fact the case, and police are still searching for a suspect or for suspects. They simply don't know. The AP sending out a correction, saying Brown University says no one is in custody, correcting earlier statements as police respond to an active shooter on campus. So Brown correcting the record, and the AP in turn correcting the reports that many people had seen. There is nobody in custody for now. We can tell you that the incident was initially reported near the Barris and Holly building.
Why?
That's a 7-story structure, according to the AP. It houses the school's engineering and physics department. The school's website says that it has 117 laboratories, 150 offices, 15 classrooms, and 29 labs, so a sizable space. Unclear how busy this campus is around this time on a Saturday. The AP does say that this was the second day of finals, however. So very possible. There's a range of possibilities as to how active this campus was at the time of the incident. We're seeing some students, it looks like, walking away from the scene. So getting another update from Brown. So Brown University looks like they just sent this out 3 minutes ago. They're sending this alert out to the general public, saying there were reports of shots fired near Governor Street. Continue to shelter in place. Stay clear. Law enforcement responding. So it appears another report of gunfire in the area. We'll have to get our bearings and figure out where Governor Street is in relation to the Barris and Holly building that the initial response was called into. You're wondering why we're seeing every so often somebody step into the shot there. That's because this video journalist is working with a reporter for the Fox affiliate in the area. They're doing live reports occasionally. And so we're taking the opportunity to see what we can from their vantage point, but every so often they are doing their thing. They're doing their live reports for their local broadcast. We are hearing, again, that Brown University is sending out another alert saying shots have been fired near Governor Street. They just sent this out within the past 5 minutes. Our producers here are saying Governor Street is about 2 blocks away from where this situation was initially called into. So, just another piece of the puzzle. Still a lot of questions about what exactly is happening.
Huh? You have stick term.
But here's the update from Brown. Yes, they say it. Reports of shots fired near Governor Street. Continue to shelter in place. Stay clear. Law enforcement responding. So, an initial call was made to Brown University's campus. There was a report of an active shooter, and police responding to reports of an active shooting situation on the campus at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. Officials had initially said a suspect was in custody, and then they corrected it and said that is not in fact the case. Police are still, at this time, searching for a suspect or suspects. The incident was initially reported near the Barris and Holly building, and now within the past 5 minutes or so, we're seeing the alert that you're seeing on screen here, which is another report of shots fired near Governor Street. The university says, continue to shelter in place, stay clear, law enforcement are responding. And then they, okay, so it looks like the local Congress member who represents the area. And I am monitoring the shooting at Brown University, and he's in touch with law enforcement. If you are in danger, call 911. If you are in the area, please stay inside and allow law enforcement to do their work. Anyone with information, please contact the Providence Police Department.
Let me see something.
Heading back to the live look. Looks like Waterman Street.
Look at your hands.
I know.
That's what Justin Follow does.
It is.
We do know that the initial call
Uh-huh.
came near a building where there's a decent amount of laboratories, the physics building, the engineering and physics building
Yeah.
that was initially called into. And then the second alert coming through from police is near Governor Street, which we're hearing is roughly 2 blocks from where the initial call was made. So we're doing the best we can here
What code are you
to
in?
sift through the information. Sometimes, and let's go back to WPRI's vantage point on the ground. Seeing some of these officers. Curious if we can hear anything. Okay, so they're getting ready to do a reporting live on there. But you can see this active
How do I,
situation.
how do I comment
We do have Jamie Copenhaver standing
on
by.
this video? 'Cause he's doing
Jamie has
Who is?
joined live
It's
now.
Gladys.
He's a law enforcement expert. He typically joins us while we cover these unfortunate situations, just like this one that we're hearing developing here. Jamie, do you have me? Can you hear me?
Wait, no,
I can often.
And we thank you for coming on short notice. I want to make you aware that Providence Police are saying this. Multiple people are shot, and this is new. Multiple people shot in the area of Brown University. This is an active investigation. Please shelter in place or avoid the area until further notice. So, very little information we work with when we're covering these active developing scenes, Jamie, but with what little we know so far, what's going through investigators' minds? How are police dealing with situations like this in the immediate moments?
Well, we know that we have multiple victims down, per that tweet and that message from the college. What investigators are doing is trying to isolate where that shooter is. Also isolate the students or the people on campus to make sure those folks are in a lockdown situation, so no one's outside of that perimeter, if you will, in case that gunman is still at large. So it's a fluid situation, and these guys have probably four main tasks right now: life, property, and let's make sure that shooter is secure. We just don't know the location of the shooter often.
So, as more information comes through, a lot of what we do here in the media is we use context to help us get some sense of what's going on here. From the images you've seen of the scene and from what little you can glean from this shot, it looks like this police response is stretching 2 or 3 blocks. What are all these context clues telling you?
That it's a very large perimeter. A lot of folks may have been on campus during this fallout of the shooting. And, you want to make sure that you have ample enough personnel from law enforcement and also the fire services to treat those wounded or shot folks as they come out. So, they're doing a cordon around that college. They're going, at this point, I would guess they're going room to room or dorm to dorm or building to building, wherever they're located on that campus, to address anybody shot or wounded. But more importantly, is this shooter still at large? We just don't know at this point.
One facet of this that's troubling is we heard the initial call on the university proper, near a physics building, it seems. And then about 10 minutes ago, Jamie, Brown sent out another urgent alert saying there's been another report of shots fired. They say this is near Governor Street, which is about 2 blocks away from where the initial call came in. The university says you have to continue to shelter in place, stay clear. Law enforcement are responding. By the way, it looks like, do I have this right? Julie and Nina, this is NYPD saying this. The New York Police Department saying, we are tracking the active shooter incident at Brown University and coordinating with our partners there. At this time, there is no known nexus to New York City, but out of an abundance of caution, we are deploying extra assets to local universities. So, just one extra angle to this, Jamie. But I want to get back to this second alert that was sent out. Again, about 10 minutes ago, a second alert was sent out saying 2 blocks away from the initial call, another report of shots fired was reported near Governor Street. The university is saying to continue to shelter in place. Law enforcement saying another report of shots fired, Jamie. I know we're working with some sparse details here, but your reaction to hearing of another call of shots fired?
I mean, hence the response that we're seeing on the live shot was just large police presence. So you know, we're not getting a play-by-play based on what law enforcement and the college is tweeting out or sending out to the students. So we sort of know what's happening, which would telegraph to me, this shooter is not in custody. The shooter is more than likely still at large. Also, given the amount of personnel from law enforcement, they're going to start going toward that shooter. You know, we often hear the victims will run from the gunfire, but these first responders and our law enforcement folks are going to be running into that gunfire, trying to locate that shooter and isolate him as quickly as possible to prevent any further injuries or death also at this point.
We're hearing that Brown
You got
University
so lucky.
is making it clear, and there were some initial reports that the suspect had been in custody, Jamie, and then very soon after that, that was amended, and we heard that it could be suspect or suspects that they are continuing to look for. What goes into, and really what's going through the mind, okay, so it's like this is new, I'll cut myself off here, because we're hearing from the governor of, this is the governor of Rhode Island, saying we are actively monitoring the shooting at Brown. Our team at Rhode Island State Police and Rhode Island, it looks like that's the state police, are working closely with local law enforcement. Please stay clear of the area and monitor official channels for updates, praying for our community. As law enforcement, and by the way, getting this right now, this is live, so when we see, what kind of, this does not look like your standard police unit, Jamie.
Still glitching out.
Here with how these officers are dressed.
So, I mean, you're going to see the battle fatigues, if you will. You're going to see the heavy armor of body armor. These are more than likely SWAT team members from either the local police department or surrounding agencies, as we know they're on scene to assist. But also you have an emergency response team. So it's essentially all hands on deck. And, you know, unfortunately, Austin, you and I covered it right here on this network. We see so many of these active shooter situations. Grateful for law enforcement and their training, and also the purchase of these additional long guns and body armor to protect these men and women as they hunt for these active shooters. So, you know, my better guess is these are mostly SWAT team elements, accompanied by some emergency response teams from other law enforcement agencies. From what that video looked like, they were probably transitioning to another building for a building search, and or to escort victims out of the building. We just don't know yet.
So, where does this investigation begin? And is it even the correct way to phrase that question? Has the investigation started yet, or is this more of a reaction that police are doing right now? Reaction response.
Yeah, it's a reaction response. You know, life is priority right now. They want to actively find that shooter, isolate that shooter, and neutralize that shooter if needs be. But more importantly, I'm going to suggest that you have a command post set up, multiple command posts, where they're starting to filter in information from ear and eyewitnesses. Some of these folks that may have gotten out, they want to interview them very quickly to learn what they have seen. So, you know, they're probably not identifying the suspect yet, but they're starting to gather that preliminary information.
He said bring
You know,
you
you brought
one.
up, are they one or two or one
He
two?
said
We
bring
just
you
don't know
one.
because multiple shots being fired. So, you know, law enforcement is on their phones and identify potential shooters to prevent that shooter from causing harm.
What resources do local law enforcement typically deploy to a campus shooting?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's all hands on deck. I can assure you that our agency is calling people that are off to come and assist this active shooter routine. You're also going to be accompanied by federal agencies, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. The federal agents of that unit will be there. I can assure you that FBI is there or on their way to provide resources and assistance to the local police department. So you're going to have county, state, and local law enforcement on board, on the ground, assisting and doing what they can do to bring this to the with this potential active shooter. But then the long task is the same task being part of investigating this, you know, who, what, when, where, how, to identify the motive for the shooter.
It's a big tip.
Do
Look at the size of this.
updates like the shooter in custody custody and then all of a sudden shooter not in custody, does that impact the response in any way? Are people responding to something like this on the same channel as we are?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know where the shooter came into custody. I don't know where that originated from. Someone in that department and said, hey, we have him in custody. And, I don't want to tell you that because this is an assumption or opinion, but it would almost lead one to believe that maybe the guy was in, or the shooter was in custody and they were looking for a second accomplice. That's a possibility. They've not been very clear on those messages. Understandably, they're very busy right now.
There is none in my room.
Ducked in behind a doorway or a hallway or under a stairwell that looked suspicious, and they just assumed that was the shooter. So, to be announced on that, we're just not clear on why they put that out there. But more importantly, they are getting messages out in a timely manner, if you will, and at least keeping the community and these people on campus informed as to what's going on right now. Because imagine also if you're locked in a classroom or you're in a stairwell, you're not getting a lot of communication from the outside. So these messages are very vital to those people that are hiding.
You mentioned the idea of a central area. Providence Police just sent this out. We are asking that press trucks use the Brook Street Fire Station as a staging area. So you and I know this. A piece of these breaking news scenes is, keeping the public informed. And the police will presumably at some point gather in front of the media and give us an on-camera update about what they know so far about this situation. I'm curious, in these immediate moments, we're talking about an active scene, how do police coordinate between campus security, city police, and, if possible, federal partners in an incident like this?
Yeah, you're going to set up that incident command center immediately as soon as you possibly can. So, the command staff of all of those agencies are going to meet at the command center and to get everybody on the same page. If you have an element or multiple elements searching dorms or buildings, you don't want to backtrack. You don't want to repeat what you've already searched. So, that command structure is vital right now. So, all of those people are on the same sheet of music. But more importantly, you're going to have a scribe that's essentially taking notes. That's going to be helpful later on in the investigation. It could be used in trials. So, anything that comes into the command center is going to be vetted by the command center, then sent out to the troops, if you will, that are boots on the ground. So it's a multifaceted operation. But more importantly, you're going to have the federal partners also accompanying the local partners in that command center. So they're getting the information in a timely fashion as well.
I'm Austin Westfall, law enforcement expert Jamie Copenhaver here with me as we really work through a developing situation here. We're learning more by the minute. The White House now commenting on it, saying, and this is President Trump saying, I have been briefed on the shooting that took place at Brown University in Rhode Island. The FBI is on the scene. The suspect is in custody, the president says. God bless the victims and the families of the victims. So I believe we now have, a suspect in custody. So really, there's been a bit of ping-ponging here. It went from custody to not in custody, and now we are hearing officially from the White House, the suspect is in custody, and the way the president is phrasing it is victims and the families of the victims. Your reaction to what the president is saying, Jamie?
Not to get ahead of the president and certainly not override what the president just tweeted or communicated out. I would be cautious with that until we hear from those folks on the ground, Austin. Just like we're getting real-time information over the wire, the White House could possibly be paused or slowed down on that information too. So, I would certainly hope he's in custody and this comes to a quick end. But I would wait until the authorities on the ground that actually would say, hey, everything's all clear. We haven't heard that. But we know that messages going to the White House is sometimes delayed. Let's hope for the best, but I would be cautious until we hear from the local authorities.
Yeah, we last heard from Brown University 17 minutes ago. They sent out an urgent alert saying, continue to shelter in place, stay clear. Law enforcement are still responding. That was the alert, by the way, that was alerting of another report of shots fired. This was just 17 minutes ago. I am checking Brown's feeds for any alert from them proper that says the shelter in place can be lifted or suspects in custody, something of that nature. Until we hear that, I gotta ask you, Jamie, what should people on or near campus be doing right now to protect themselves? The university says shelter in place. Can you expand on what that means?
Yeah, if you're in a classroom or some type of room with a door, you're gonna have that door barricaded with tables and chairs, etc. And you're gonna shelter in place. You're gonna stay there until law enforcement comes and identifies themselves, and you know 100% that it's a police officer. You're gonna obviously open the door, but you're gonna do everything that they've trained for. You know, these campuses, unfortunately, we've not, you know, we've seen this in the past, Austin, and the schools have really upped their game in terms of information, training. I think up at Florida State University, they have a curriculum on what to do with an active shooter. So our kids, our students have gotten much better, and the faculty has gotten much better on sheltering in place. So, you know, they're gonna hold steady. If you have a faculty member or someone from campus in that room with you, I can assure you, they're not gonna open the door until they're absolutely 100% sure it's a cop on the other end knocking. So shelter in place until you hear personally come out, all's clear.
You know, what factors determine whether officers immediately enter a building or whether they are waiting for tactical teams? How do they do that math in real time?
So we see the flashing lights. They literally have this campus surrounded. So, like I said earlier, you're going to have elements that are going to go towards the gunfire or the last place where the gunfire had been shot, or that gun had been shot. But also, you're going to have elements going into the dorms, the building, and you're going to start clearing those kids or those people out of those classrooms as rapidly as possible. But here's a caveat: as safe as possible. So, you know, 3 tweets, we're still unsure if the gunman's in custody. So I can assure you law enforcement is being very, very diligent in terms of marching people across the lawn, if you will. We've seen that time after time in these horrible stories. So I think it's kind of like holding in place until the police are absolutely sure all's clear. And that may take some time, Austin. It could be 30 minutes, or it could be an hour and 30 minutes, as we've seen in the past. These things take time.
Jamie, why do early reports often change, and what makes it difficult to verify initial information?
Yeah, it could be, I was just thinking about that earlier tweet, the suspects in custody. I mean, it could be something as simple as a student was in a place where it was suspicious. He was approached by law enforcement. The student or the person could have been armed himself. Unrelated to this entire situation, that could be an explanation for this. But also communication. It's organized chaos if you've been onto one of these scenes in these active shootings. You have a bunch of people yelling and screaming, rightfully so, but more importantly, you have a bunch of first responders and cops that are trying to get in to save lives. So, you know, it could be a miscue by some police officer who thought they had a description, maybe nailed the description down on a student or a person on campus, and maybe have miscued suspect in custody. We just don't know. It's too early to tell, but it could be a range of explanations as to why that tweet came out. But it's pretty alarming. They tweeted it out and then obviously retracted that. So that's the scary part. You just don't know.
How are different agencies dividing responsibilities right now? Who handles perimeter security versus threat neutralization, for example?
Yeah, I mean, once you get the command center set up, you're going to have patrol officers that are on the normal radio calls. They're going to set up the perimeter outside of the columns. And then you're going to have elements of SWAT team members from not only the university and the police department there locally, but the surrounding agencies are going to send SWAT operators into that area. And those are the operators that are going to go door to door. But here's a caveat to that. If you hear a shot being fired in an active shooting situation, it doesn't matter if you're just a beat cop or a SWAT officer, you're going to go running into that gunfire to stop or neutralize that shooter. So, but for the most part, it's going to be patrol officers on the perimeter, and then a little bit specialized units, you know, doing the building search door to door, if you will. But you know, it's a pretty good sized column, so it's going to take all hands on deck. Austin, which is exactly why we hear these adjoining agencies responding to assist. I mean, it's just a massive search, not only for victims, but more importantly, the gunman.
You know, Jamie Copenhagen, by the way, here with us. He's a law enforcement expert. I'm Austin Westfall. We're going to stick with this story as we continue to learn more about the situation. One more procedural question for you. We heard the initial report coming from a building that appeared to have lots of laboratories in it. And then sometime later, we heard of a second call about shots fired about 2 blocks away. How do police assess whether the shooter is mobile or stationary?
You know, Peters, you're going to listen for witnesses. As you're doing this search or running in to neutralize or stop this gunman, you're going to run into people on campus. You know, it's just a simple question. Did you hear the shots? Yes, I did. What direction? And they're going to point the police in the direction of the shots, if you will. Better yet, you know, they have an intercom system within that school. Perhaps someone from the security office may have seen or heard the suspect running down the hallway, for instance. So there's a lot of intelligence to gather. It's just you have to get the credible intelligence. But unfortunately, and I've always said this for years, Austin, the bad guy can make mistakes. The cops just can't afford to make those mistakes. So they're going to act in a herd, if you will. In case it is bad information, they'll have elements of officers somewhere else adjacent to the building in case that information is bad. So, you know, they're going to be looking for the gunfire. They're going to be interviewing what witnesses they can interview, both eye and ear witnesses, to determine where the last shot was fired.
We are just 60 seconds ago, Brown University sent out another update on social media. They say, urgent, situation remains ongoing, continue to shelter in place, law enforcement are on site. So I don't see anything in this latest update, Jamie, that says that a suspect is in custody. That's not any type of language I'm hearing from the university themselves. I will reiterate that the president sent this out moments ago. He says he's been briefed on the shooting that took place at the university in Rhode Island, at Brown in Rhode Island. The FBI is on scene. The suspect is in custody. The president says, God bless the victims and the families of the victims. But again, I'll just reiterate, I have not seen Brown University say that a suspect is in custody. In fact, the last we heard from them, they say that a suspect was not in custody. And the latest update 1 minute ago says that the situation remains ongoing, continue to shelter in place. When you hear of Brown University, again, this update came out 2 minutes ago, Jamie. They say situation remains ongoing, continue to shelter in place. Does that tell you that we might still be working with an active shooting situation?
That would telegraph exactly that. You know, I'm not telling anyone to ignore what the president says, but I would trust Brown University much more than a third party getting that third-handed information, right? So, you know, if you're hearing this broadcast, they sheltered in place until you are actually approached by a police officer, right? You know, here's the problem with that. You have officers on the ground, you have the command center, and the White House is a third party, and it's getting the information late. And I'm going to suggest to you that Brown University is going to be accurate in this case rather than the president or the White House.
So one thing that I'm going to continue to track is, you know, a campus-wide sweep. I would imagine that's what has to happen during something like this, or at least a sweep of the immediate area where something like this was called into. How do police manage the tall task, if you will, of basically going from perimeter to perimeter and making sure everything is locked down in the way that they want it to be?
Yeah, you're going to start where that shot was last heard, and you're going to start looking for the shooter in an active situation. But as you're looking for that, you're going to have an element that comes back, and they're going to be looking for victims to get aid for any potential victims that are injured or shot. As they do that, you're going to have other elements that are surrounding that building. So it's literally working inside out, if you will. But, you know, you have the patrol units that are on the outer perimeter. They're going to encounter potential witnesses running out of the scene. So it's a multifaceted, it's organized chaos, but from what I see, it's very well organized by our law enforcement partners. They have a good cordon. We see elements of special operators that are on the ground. So it's a coordinated search and event by all hands on deck. And I've got to tell you, Austin, the federal monies and some of the stuff that are coming into these schools are so needed, and we're starting to see a flow of money for training and for their equipment. So, you know, thank God these schools are up to speed on their training, because it certainly exhibits their training due to their response here. They're being very diligent in their response and being very cautious. But more importantly, they're getting the information out to the people on campus as quickly and safely as possible.
Does the body language of the emergency responders on this feed tell you anything? They look relaxed to me.
It does. I mean, that could be a perimeter unit. It could be a unit that had just came out of the search and they're getting rebriefed for another search. But I'm going to be honest with you. It could also telegraph that the shooter's in custody because they look very relaxed. You don't see anyone running or hustling. It could be a couple of things. I'm not going to read into that because we've seen it in the past where we saw a perimeter of police officers not really running or doing anything actively, but yet you have an active shooter still on site. So my best hope is this guy or shooters are either neutralized or in custody, and that's why we're seeing the most, they're relaxed at this crime scene. What we're not seeing though is what's happening inside the building. Are they still elements searching? Are they, we just don't know that.
How do officers prevent the suspect from escaping the perimeter if they're still believed to be at large, if they are believed to be at large?
No, I really haven't seen any air support, but you're going to have an air support unit up above flying orbits, potentially with FLIR and obviously a spotlight. But you're also going to have a visual by all of these officers on the perimeter. You're going to see everything lit up on the outside perimeter. And if someone comes out of the building or off the lawn of that campus, they're going to be challenged by the police to identify themselves. Get on the ground, put your hands up, what have you, to prevent a shooter or a bad guy getting outside the perimeter. I've been on scenes in the past where I've had an inner perimeter and then an outer perimeter. So you have a double perimeter, so you have double protection preventing that bad guy to escape. So it's just very visual. You have to be on cue and you have to have good communication with your fellow officers, both inside and at the command center.
What information are officers on the ground feeding back to command right now?
Buildings that have been searched, cleared, potentially groups of spectators, witnesses, students, what have you on campus. If you're going to bring out an element of civilians, you want the command center to know that to alert other officers, hey, we're coming out with another group. More importantly, the injured. Do we have injured people down that haven't received first responder help yet? That's a huge thing. If you have someone in a dorm or an adjacent building that's been injured or shot, you want to get that person treatment as soon as possible, the golden hour, right? So, depending on the injuries, they want the command center to react, getting the fire services as safely as possible into that building for any potential injured or shot people.
Jamie, if you're available to, can you stand by with us? We are going to continue, and it does look like this feed. It looks like the video journalist might be moving to another area. Perhaps they're, I would be curious to know if they're moving perhaps to a designated media area at this point in the investigation. I'm getting word from our producers that on the line we have the mother of a student who is currently sheltering in place and is receiving real-time updates from her son, Shamsa Amersi. Do you have me, and are we connected? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So thank you for coming on. What is your son telling you right now?
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. They were in the middle of finals, so they were all on campus studying at the library. And about an hour and a half ago, the first text I get from my son is, Mom, there's a live shooting on campus, and I'm going to run, and I love you. I was like, what? So we've only been texting, and I'm getting live updates from him because we've told him to turn off his phone, not to make a single sound, but he's in a supply closet room on campus, barricaded with 12 students. They've turned off the lights. They've put chairs on their door. One of his classmates is having a panic attack, so the friends are trying to keep her quiet so that no sounds are being made. They have a radio update that they're getting as students, and the most recent update is that there's nobody in custody, and there's an active shooter that's still on campus. There's some casualties, but we don't know how many. We just know that their situation is not resolved at all. My son is currently safe. He's in a barricaded room, but they're so frantic. Like, this is just a nightmare as a parent. It's not, this is horrible.
And I'm so sorry, we can't imagine. And we really are working as best we can here to get updates from officials in the area. I'm so sorry to hear that this is unfolding the way it's unfolding. I need to ask you, did you say that your son, and I'll say your son, Jaden Anselmo, is who's on lockdown right now, did Jaden hear gunshots?
Yes. He was studying in the library with his friends, and then they heard active gunshots, so they began running. At first they didn't know what it was, and then they began running, and then they all ran upstairs to a room. He was with all his classmates they're roommates, and then they barricaded themselves in a room. First they were debating about leaving and trying to leave the campus, and then we told them, no, stay exactly where you are, you cannot leave. You have to turn off your phones, turn off your ringers, turn off your lights. And his dad and I are just texting him nonstop, giving him instructions, keeping the girl in the room who's having a panic attack quiet, supporting her, and just all of them to not make a single sound and to keep the lights off. And if anyone tries to enter, they will fight. But they barricaded the room with chairs.
So they have not seen police yet?
They have seen no police, no one has come in, no one has told them to leave. They're just waiting, and we've told them to not leave anywhere, not to leave the room until somebody official comes and tells them to leave. But as of now, the most recent instructions that he's told me as of 2 minutes ago is to stay put, and the shooter is still active, and not to leave.
And so is your understanding that there were, and I know you said finals are ongoing, so despite this being a Saturday, is it within the realm of possibility that there's a decent amount of students on campus this Saturday?
Yes, during finals, all the students typically leave the dorms and are on campus studying. They're studying outside or in the library. So that all the classmates are either in their dorms or on campus in the library. Finals week is all of next week.
And what does your son study?
My son studies economics and international relations. He's a third-year student.
And how much familiarity do you have with this building that's on lockdown? Because it appears that the local police agencies here, they've been focusing in on a specific structure there that appears to be full of laboratories and things of this nature. Are you familiar with this area and this building specifically?
I am not.
And I'm hearing, and I need to check in with my producers here. No, son. Okay, so we are getting some more information. We'll be sharing that in a little bit here once we can get it confirmed. But I need to ask you, Shamsa, you are having no issues connecting with your son. I know you say texting. Have you spoken on the phone?
No, we spoke to him very briefly to say we love you, and then he's just texting us. He's not able to talk on the phone.
Are there any instructors in the area, or are these students together?
All students. They're all students together.
And what has he described about the situation inside the building?
Inside the building, what he's able to just say is that the classmates have all gone into rooms and barricaded themselves as instructed by the radio from Brown University. And he doesn't know what's happening outside of his room because he's in one specific room with 12 students.
And are you getting communication only from him, or are you getting communication from the university as well?
We're getting university information from text messages just saying to us that there's an active shooter and for the students to stay in place, and that there's shots that have been fired and to stay clear, and that there's law enforcement on site and it's an active situation.
Shamsa,
All we've been able to get.
Shamsa, I can't thank you enough. for sharing your story with us and giving us a little bit of insight as to what some of those on the ground are going through right now. And we are wishing you the best, and we're wishing well for your son as well.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We're going to stick with these live pictures. We don't have our ground shot, so we're going to stick with this shot from above the campus here. We are, and I'm just going to have to ask our producers here, Brown University putting out a longer update on their website. So I'll read this verbatim. This just came out, guys? Okay. So it looks like about 5 minutes ago, Brown University sent out a few paragraphs worth of an update. I'm going to read this verbatim. I'm not sure what they say here. They say at 4:22 p.m., we alerted our campus to an active shooter incident near Barris and Holly Engineering. We informed our community to shelter in place by locking doors, silence phones, and stay hidden until further notice. This remains an active crime scene, and law enforcement continues to search for the suspect. The situation is ongoing, and all members of the community should continue to shelter in place. We are very sorry to share that we have confirmed reports of multiple shooting victims, but we are not able to share their condition. They have been transported to local hospitals. Our first priority is the safety of our community, and coordinating closely with local law enforcement and medical personnel to ensure their safety. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting. We had multiple exams scheduled in that building from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We can confirm that support services are on site. Senior administrative leaders from across the university are convened in emergency command to mobilize ongoing response and support for our community. We are establishing support for our community and families. We have been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency personnel. We have relocated students to get support services at a secure location. Please continue to take all steps to remain safe. Follow the instructions of law enforcement personnel and avoid the area. The president, amending something that he sent out on social media earlier in the evening, he had said that a suspect was in custody, now saying a suspect is not in custody. So, still unclear what the situation is on the ground. The last we heard from Brown University, they were still telling people in the area to shelter in place, and that law enforcement are still looking for a suspect or suspects. Again, I'll reiterate that Brown University is just within the past 5 minutes, sending out saying they are very sorry to share that they do have confirmed reports of multiple shooting victims. They say they are not able to share their condition. They say they've been transported to local hospitals. The university says that their first priority is the safety of the community and coordinating closely with local law enforcement and medical personnel to ensure their safety. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting. The university does say that they had multiple exams scheduled in that building from 2 to 5 p.m. and they say that support services are now on site. A live look at our camera that has a wider angle view of the scene. We are hearing, by the way, that there is expected to be a press conference at 6:15 Eastern Time. We will bring that to you live if we see that we have that feed connected to our newsroom. We do expect that our affiliate in the area will be feeding that press conference live, and we hope that we will be able to watch as officials tell us what they know so far about this developing situation. We do know multiple victims have been confirmed. Their condition, unknown. I'll reset here. We know that many of you have just started to join us as you've heard the news of this developing situation. Multiple victims reported as an active shooting situation continues to play out at Brown University. Multiple people have been shot in the area of Brown University, police have said. The Ivy League school issuing an active shooter alert and urging students and staff to take shelter during the second day of final exams. Police, according to the Associated Press, did not immediately release details about the number of victims, their conditions, or the circumstances of the shooting. University officials initially told students and staff that a suspect was in custody, but then they later said that's not the case, and that police are still searching for a suspect or suspects. In fact, the president sent out an alert saying that a suspect was in custody, and then he had to amend it, saying, in fact, a suspect is not in custody. One more angle to this that we're tracking. The initial call came into a university building that houses a number of laboratories, and then sometime after that initial call came in, a second report of shots fired came into police at an area about 2 blocks away from where the initial scene was called. So we were speaking with law enforcement expert Jamie Copenhaver moments ago, and him and I were discussing the idea of how police do the math, how they contain a scene when there are so many variables and so many unknowns. We are getting some word in from Attorney General Pam Bondi. She said that the FBI and the ATF are on the scene of the shooting at Brown University in Rhode Island. She says, please pray for all involved. I'll reiterate that we are expecting a press conference. It was slated for 6:15. We'll let you know once that gets underway. It does appear that some of the local media outlets are setting up for the update. So if we have a live feed, we will bring that to you as it takes place in real time. Sometimes the connection, I will say, sometimes the connection at these things can be tricky. There are so many different people that broadcast these live feeds, and we hope we can bring this thing through to you clearly once it does start. University officials initially told students, once again, that a suspect was in custody, but as of right now, nobody is in custody. And they're not even clear whether or not they're looking for one suspect or multiple suspects. The reported shooting occurred near the Barris and Hawley building. That was where the initial call came into. The Barris and Hawley building is a 7-story complex. It houses the university's School of Engineering and Physics department. The university's website says that the building includes more than 100 laboratories. It has dozens of classrooms and offices. We were just speaking to Shamsa Mercy, who unfortunately has a son who is on lockdown, a terrifying situation unfolding for so many parents whose students were either taking tests or were studying for finals. Looks like we have another update from Brown University. This is the 6th update. They just sent this out moments ago, I'm guessing. Yes, it appears they just sent this out moments ago. They say, the earlier report of a secondary shooting incident near Governor Street is unfounded. However, it remains critical to continue to shelter in place due to the original situation. Okay, so it was Brown University that initially alerted us about the potential of a secondary shooting. Now Brown University amending that and saying it's unfounded. However, remain vigilant, remain in shelter. The original situation still ongoing, it appears. Okay, so here's our live vantage point. We anticipate police will step up to these microphones sometime shortly, and we will learn what they've learned so far. We've been watching along with you for the past hour or so as little pieces of information have come in intermittently. I'll just reset here for anybody who may be joining us. We are live in wall-to-wall coverage as we track a developing story out of Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. Multiple people have been confirmed shot at the university. Police are saying that multiple people are shot. They have not been able to say the condition of those people. The Ivy League school issuing an active shooter alert and urging students and staff to take shelter. This is all taking place on the second day of final exams at Brown University. Police have not immediately released details about the number of victims. They haven't said the condition of the victims. They also haven't confirmed the exact circumstances surrounding the shooting. We're still waiting, and there's so many questions still that we have here. We're going to do some fact-finding here behind the scenes. I'm going to turn my mic down for a moment. I'll be back shortly. Okay, Austin Westfall here in the, where you're, just sort of going through the news wires, and we're scouring social media, and we're awaiting a press conference that we expect. We heard this would take place at 6:15 Eastern time. We'll let you know as soon as this thing does get underway. While we wait for people to, or officials to, step up to these microphones, let's keep this, wider vantage points of the scene. I'll just mention to you also, if you're curious why we no longer have a camera on the ground at the scene itself, it's because that camera has moved over to the press conference. It's the very same camera that you're looking at here. Folks exchanging hugs on what's turning out to be a horrific day at Brown University. We are doing our best to connect with law enforcement expert Jamie Copenhaver. He's going to join us over the phone here shortly, barring that press conference starting. I'll read this update that officials sent out 15 minutes ago. The university itself, Brown, sending out a extended update. This is how they write it. It's a few paragraphs long. I'm going to read it verbatim. They say, we alerted our campus at 4:22 p.m. to an active shooter incident near Barris and Hawley Engineering. We informed our community to shelter in place by locking doors, silencing phones, and staying hidden until further notice. This remains an active crime scene, and law enforcement continue to search for the suspect. The situation is ongoing, and all members of the community should continue to shelter in place. Again, this was sent out 15 minutes ago. They say they are very sorry to share that they have confirmed reports of multiple shooting victims, but they are not able to share their condition. They say that those people have been transported to local hospitals. The university is saying that their first priority is the safety of their community and coordinating closely with local law enforcement and medical personnel to ensure their safety. They say they're working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting. We had multiple exams, they say, scheduled in that building from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And they can confirm that support services are on site. Senior administrative leaders from across the university, they say, are convened in emergency command to mobilize ongoing response and support for the community. And they say that they're establishing support for their community and families as well. They say that they've been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency medical personnel. They say that they have relocated students to get support services at a secure location. They are telling anybody in the area to remain vigilant. They say, please continue to take all steps to remain safe. Follow the instructions of law enforcement personnel and avoid the area. We no longer have that vantage point of the press conference. Presumably, we'll see that feed pop back up when officials eventually do step up. We expected that press conference to happen at 15 minutes past the hour. We're now at 23 minutes past the hour, so it's possible that this press conference could start at any moment now. Reading from the news wires, the police and I'll underscore this, there are many more questions unanswered than answered at this point. We don't know any details about the number of victims, as I mentioned. We don't know the conditions of anybody who was shot today. All we know from Brown University is that multiple people are confirmed shot, and the university says no suspect in custody. This is the latest update from Brown. They say the earlier report of a secondary shooting incident near Governor Street is unfounded. However, it remains critical to continue shelter in place due to the original situation. For anybody who's newly joining us, there was a report of a second potential scene where gunfire had rung out. It appears that Brown University has ruled that out and said that it was unfounded. FBI Director Kash Patel saying FBI personnel are on the scene. They're assisting this evening after the shooting at Brown, and they will provide all capabilities necessary. Please pray for all those involved, Patel says. We will update with more information as we are able. The only live vantage point we have of the area at this hour is this bird's eye view overlooking a portion of Brown's campus. You can see the red and blues as this massive response continues. We have also heard from the president. President Trump says that he's been briefed on the matter. He had initially said, just like local authorities had said, that a suspect was in custody, but then amending that and saying, no, we do not have a suspect in custody. In fact, they do not know if it's a suspect or if we're talking about multiple potential suspects at this point. These are questions we simply do not have answered at this time. Also unclear to us when this police press conference is going to start. Our understanding is it could happen any moment here, and surely we'll be listening in for any information relating to a suspect. Are they searching for a suspect? And this is not something we've heard directly from Brown, but is somebody on the loose? Have they maintained a perimeter around this campus? And do they suspect that the suspect is somewhere within that perimeter? Or is there the potential that there is a suspect outside of the perimeter? These are questions I have, and these are things I'm going to be listening for once police officials step up and address the media. Law enforcement expert Jamie Copenhaver will be joining us here shortly, we anticipate. Ultimately, what we work with here during these breaking news situations is context. And a lot of the times, all we have to work with, and you know what? I'm getting an update from the Associated Press, and I'm just gonna make sure that our producers are also seeing this. The Associated Press just sending this out, saying that at least 2 people were killed and several more injured in a shooting at Brown University earlier today. The AP quoting a law enforcement official and saying that the Ivy League school issued an active shooter alert and the shelter-in-place directive still remains in effect right now. So, some terrible news to report as we're hearing from the AP. 2 people have been killed and several more injured. That's how the AP is phrasing it. There's the breaking news. They say at least 2 dead and several others injured in this shooting at Brown University. So, this deadly situation, we first got the live feeds in about an hour and a half ago. It was unclear for quite some time whether or not there were casualties. And then we started to hear reports that there were multiple people shot, unknown what condition they were in, but people were transported to the hospital. And now the Associated Press saying at least 2 people have been killed and several others injured, either on or near the university's campus tonight. Our understanding is that this was the second day of finals at Brown, and even if a student wasn't taking a final, We're checking in with the mother of a student who's currently on lockdown. She told us that her son was there studying, and there were many more students there studying. It was Shamsa Mercy who joined us over the phone earlier in the hour, telling us about this. Really tragic situation. And speaking about her son being barricaded in a classroom, and he had not, at least while we were speaking with her, she had not heard of her son being contacted or being met by any police at that time. It's a delicate and calculated process, going room to room, as law enforcement expert Jamie Copenhaver was telling me earlier in the hour. So the Associated Press confirming now that 2 people have been killed, and we will await official word from police once this press conference starts. We anticipate that we will hear from university officials, or at least police officials, at some point in the near future. The press conference had initially been scheduled for 6:15 Eastern time, but you can understand things are very fluid, and police are working with what appears still at this hour to be an active situation. I have still not seen any alerts indicating that a suspect is in custody. I have not seen any alerts to indicate that anybody in the area can stand down as far as sheltering in place. I'm reading an update from the FBI office in Boston. They say that Boston is assisting our law enforcement partners in Rhode Island with any and all available resources, including evidence response, investigative and technical support, as well as victim assistance. FBI Boston saying that they urge the public to remain vigilant and report any and all suspicious activity to law enforcement immediately. Now, there has been some confusion. Some of you who are just tuning in now may have seen conflicting reports of a suspect being in custody. The facts on the ground right now: no suspect in custody. In fact, it's unclear whether we're talking about one suspect or multiple suspects. That's just simply information that Brown University hasn't said yet, and that's information that none of our news wires or news partners have been able to confirm yet. We've heard from the White House. The White House says that they have been briefed on the situation. They are also confirming, the White House is confirming, that there is not a suspect in custody. Again, this was a point of confusion earlier in the evening. Brown University has sent out a handful of updates throughout the evening.
Ensure my call.
The latest update,
Answer my call.
basically confirming that a report of a potential second shooting scene was unfounded. There was a point throughout the past hour or so where there was a report of shots fired about 2 blocks away from where the initial call came in. Brown University saying about 15 minutes ago that those reports were unfounded, and they continue to focus on the initial scene. And they, again, are still encouraging people to shelter in place at the original location. Again, indicative of there is still not a suspect in custody. Brown University, by the way, is an Ivy League school in Providence, Rhode Island that's been sending out sporadic updates. One of the updates they sent out was a more long-form update. I've been reading this every so often. Again, I see more people are joining the stream as the minutes tick by. So I'm going to read the most extensive update we have so far from Brown University. It says this, quote, "At 4:22 p.m., we alerted our campus to an active shooter incident near Barris and Holly Engineering. We informed our community to shelter in place by locking doors, silence phones, and stay hidden until further notice. This remains an active crime scene, and law enforcement continues to search for the suspect. The situation is ongoing, and all members of the community should continue to shelter in place. We are very sorry to share that we have confirmed reports of multiple shooting victims. In this statement, they say they are not able to share their condition, but the Associated Press since then has confirmed that 2 people have been killed, several others injured. We'll continue on with the Brown statement. They say that a number of people have been transported to local hospitals. Again, exact numbers unclear to us for now. Brown says our first priority is the safety of our community and coordinating closely with local law enforcement and medical personnel to ensure their safety. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting. We have multiple exams scheduled in that building from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh, that's
We
about the
confirm
first
that
one.
support services are on the site. So that's an important piece to this. And it looks like we are getting an update from officials. It looks like the live feed just popped up. This is happening now. Here's what officials know.
Already read it.
We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, those stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this
Not
time.
gonna play on mine.
There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted. We will make regular updates through all City of Providence official social media channels. That's where you can find out more information about the shelter in place, if it changes, when it's lifted. I want to commend the heroic work the Providence Police Department, the Brown Police Department, Providence Fire Department, and many agencies who provided mutual aid today. Brown Police responded first and then were quickly assisted by Providence Police, who fearlessly and courageously entered and worked through the building, and we'll hear from them in a minute. Providence Fire responded quickly as well and transported several of the victims. The fire department was assisted with mutual aid from across the state of Rhode Island. And as I think we know our community to be, our neighbors have really stepped up in a big way today. And we're very grateful for everyone who has offered assistance and who will continue to offer assistance. The fire department was aided by departments in Warwick, Barrington, Bristol, Brown, EMS, Pawtucket, Cranston, Coventry, Smithfield, East Greenwich, North Kingstown, Woonsocket, Professional Ambulance Company, Situate, and Cumberland. Providence Police and Brown Police were aided by East Providence, Cranston, Cumberland, the State Police, the FBI, and the ATF. Brown, Providence, and the FBI are currently in close coordination as they seek to find the shooter or shooters. The shooting took place at the Barris and Holly building, which is a Brown University engineering and physics building.
Number 2 and number
The
1.
building contains both classrooms and lab space.
Wait.
Not with
We'll
you.
hear from the provost in a minute with some additional updates from Brown. There will be a family reunification center that Brown will be setting up effective at 7 o'clock. Please stay tuned for updates on where that will be. We are encouraging anyone who was a witness to today's action, please contact the police as the investigation is ongoing and they may have critical information. At this time, I'd like to introduce the governor of the state of Rhode Island, who was quick to call and offer assistance and has been in touch with our law enforcement, had the state police respond quickly. and has been a great partner to the city of Providence on this sad day. Governor.
Yes, so the unthinkable has happened, and I've been in touch, as the mayor said, to make sure that all the resources that we have, whether it's the EMA, our state police, Department of Health, which we've been in contact with as well, are responding in a way that is being helpful as possible. We've been in contact with the White House as well. Our office has been in contact with the White House. So we will bring all our resources to the table. I've been in touch with Governor Healy as well as other governors who have experienced the same tragedy. So our thoughts go out to those who have been impacted by this in any way, and we'll continue to provide the assistance to the authorities here in Providence as well as statewide, and continue to make sure that we are doing everything we can to help the families that are, that are suffering right now.
Yeah. Now I'd like to introduce Chief Rodney Chapman from Brown PD.
My name's Rodney Chapman. I'm Vice President for Brown University, Vice President of Public Safety and Emergency Management that serves as Chief of Police as well. As mentioned, and we will mention this several times, this is a very fluid situation and dynamically evolving. Needless to say, my primary concern is the safety and security of this community, and we are encouraging, if anyone has information about the tragic events that unfolded this afternoon, to please contact us and provide that information. At this moment, I do want to say and share that my profound thanks and appreciation for all of the first responders who have come to assist us and all that are gathered right now speaking to continue this investigation, to include all of the City of Providence resources, state resources, and the federal government in terms of the FBI and ATF.
Now, Commander Tim O'Hara from Providence Police.
Good evening, Tim O'Hara, Deputy Chief of Providence Police. So earlier this afternoon, when we received a call for an active shooter inside a building inside Brown University, our officers responded, and as they're trained to do, entered that building immediately and began searching for a suspect. They did a systematic search of the building. However, no suspect was located at that time. They were able to clear that building and provide a safe place for all the students and faculty and workers that were in that building to meet at. Preliminarily, all we have is a suspect that was a male dressed in black. It is unknown how he entered the building, but we do know that he entered inside of that complex. We're utilizing every resource possible to find this suspect. The shelter in place is in order, and I urge people to take that very seriously. Please do not come to the area. There's an active police investigation going on, and there's a lot of police activity. We've got assistance so far from some surrounding communities, the state police, the Cranston Police, East Providence Police, as well as our federal partners in the FBI and the ATF. We're talking to witnesses at this time and delving into any video that's in the area, and the investigation is very active and ongoing. We'll be updating you, I'm sure, throughout the night, but as I said, right now there is no suspect that is under arrest, so please stay out of the area. Thank you.
We'll take questions at the end. We'll take questions at the end. We have a few more speakers, please. Next, the Fire Chief, Derek Silva.
Derek Silva, Fire Chief of the City of Providence. As mentioned previously, at 4:05 p.m. we dispatched to the area of Waterman and Thayer for an active shooter incident, where our firefighters, known as a rescue task force, linked up with Providence Police with 2 operational locations at Waterman and Thayer and Waterman and Hope. Rescue Task Force is a firefighter that wears body armor and has ability to stop any shooting wounds and make sure that any victims are extricated quickly. With the assistance of police in neighboring cities and towns, 8 people were transported, as the mayor mentioned, critical but stable condition, and 2, unfortunately, with dead-on arrival. We have a total of 10 victims, but as I caution everyone, this is a developing incident, and we are still actively searching the buildings along with Providence Police to make sure that everyone has gone home safe and that there is no one else that needs our assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And then last, we'll hear from the Provost of Brown University, Frank Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Frank Doyle, Provost of Brown University. I want to reiterate, this is an evolving situation, as you've heard multiple times. Our first priority is the safety of our academic community, the campus community, and coordinating closely with law enforcement and medical services. In the meantime, we continue to direct our community to shelter in place in the greater vicinity of the campus. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting and any impacts of the shooting. We do know that there were final exams taking place in the building between 2 and 5 p.m. We can confirm that support services are on site. We have been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency medical personnel. We have relocated students to get support services at a secure location and will be providing more details. We continue to remain extremely grateful to local law enforcement for their ongoing support. We're committed to keeping our community informed, supporting our students and families, as well as the affected faculty and staff. Thank you.
So before we take questions, I just want to implore the greater Providence community. We are a week and a half away from Christmas, and 2 people died today and another 8 are in the hospital. So please pray for those families. Understand that this is not something our community has gone through together, but I also know this community, and I know that its best moments are when we come together to support one another. It's going to be a difficult rest of the day, difficult weeks and months ahead as this community heals. And each and every one of us can play a small role in that, in supporting one's neighbor and offering that support and their prayers for everyone involved. At this point, we'll be happy to take questions as we go.
Can you tell us about the victims, including whether they were all Brown University students?
We cannot disclose any details about the victims at this time, whether they were students or not, or any other details. We will make those details available when they become available. We expect to be providing regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come, and this is too early to be able to provide those details.
Mayor, how did it happen that
Something like this might be happening?
The first we learned about today was the 911 call that came in, but we had no other, I don't think, we had no other notice or threat indicated or anything like that in this case.
Mayor, do you know exactly when Brown University did put out that someone was in custody? How long is that information out for? And how was that determination made and then retracted?
There was an individual who was preliminarily thought to be involved and was later determined to have no involvement. And that's why we can confirm that at this time there is nobody in custody. The length of that investigation or interrogation of that individual, I don't know.
No weapons have been. We just know that it was a firearm. What type of firearm, we're unaware of.
Yes, we are.
Mayor, do you need a pass to get to that building, or could someone just get in?
I'm unaware of how the security of that building works.
Most of our buildings after hours are crosswalk, but since there was a final exam, there was probably a lot of traffic in that.
And where did it happen in the building? Did this take place inside where the exam was going on?
We're still verifying everything. So, and we look at everything right now. That's all part of the crime scene.
Was
So
the
we're
victims
checking.
found like in a hallway, or were they in a classroom?
So we're unable to share that at this time.
Commander, can you say if there have been any confirmed shots fired since the 405 shots?
There was a call that came over for shots fired in the area of Governor Street, but that was unconfirmed and unfounded.
So as far as we know, the gunman has not been seen since around the 4 o'clock hour.
That's correct. The last time that we know that he's been seen was when somebody saw him leaving the building on the Hope Street side of the building.
And is it around college age, or any?
I don't have any more information about his description.
Commander, could you repeat how the individual exited the building?
He exited the doors at the Hope Street side of the building.
Do police have any video footage of the suspect at this point?
We're working on that right now. We're working along with FBI on tracking down video from that area.
What resources are being used other than video at this point to try to locate the suspect?
Forensic evidence, we're using witness evidence, and we're looking for video mostly right now because we'd like to get an image out as quickly as we can of the suspect.
Now, it happened been about close to 3 hours now, right? But you were in contact with other law enforcement. Now we're talking, and a large perimeter at this juncture? Who else is involved in this now?
As I said earlier, state police are involved, ATF, the FBI, Providence Police Detectives, and all the other squads that we have available to us, Patrol Bureau, and then our specialty intelligence units and our real-time crime center will be involved as well.
Any multi-state alerts?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Has everyone vacated that building at this point?
No, not everybody. There's still a police presence in that building. That's the crime scene. We're gonna be in that building for quite some time.
So the students and faculty, bystanders?
Yes, everybody that was in that building at the time has been moved.
Commander, so is Chelsea in need that are in basic critical condition at the hospital?
They're in stable condition at the hospital, Rhode Island Hospital right now.
Are they able to provide any details?
That's what we're working on right now, John.
In terms of when that suspect was last seen leaving the building on Oak Street, is that eyewitness account? Did police see him leave? Was there any interaction with police with that suspect?
No interaction with that suspect with police or with some eyewitness account.
I just wanted to know if there's any kind of continuous to provide that anybody's here right now. I know it's kind of hard, but we don't know what to do first. There's a lot of people on edge. Is there anything that you can give us?
All I can give you is a male, all dressed in black at this time. We're hoping to get something very soon. An image would be the best thing for us to get out there to you guys and everybody else. So
Do you have an image of him?
that I can't confirm.
Do you have an image of him?
I do not have an image of him.
And did he left on foot or did he get into a vehicle?
He left on foot.
Did he go down Oak Street?
He exited the building on Oak Street. Where he went from there, we're unsure.
How do you find a suspect in a city campus? Makes it very, very challenging.
We have all available resources, and as the governor mentioned, he's in touch with governors in other areas as well. This will be an ongoing investigation. Obviously, FBI, ATF, Providence Police, Brown Police are all actively investigating this as we speak, and we will provide updates as they become available. We expect to provide regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come. We will share information as we have it with all of you. We knew that this update was preliminary, but we also know that there's a lot of fear and anxiety and concern in our community, and so it was important to get out the details that we do have at this time. At this point, you know all the information that can be shared, and we will keep the community and members of the press corps updated as we go throughout the evening.
Has there ever been a shooting at Brown University before? To my knowledge.
Commander, has Chief Perez been briefed on this?
Absolutely.
Where is he?
The chief is on his way here and will be at our later press availabilities.
What kind of residents who are living, obviously, in this area that are concerned, they're trying to shelter in place, if they see something that they feel is suspicious, what is the best way for them to reach out? Can they send pictures? Can they reach out? Obviously, you can call police.
They should call the police. That is the best way. Social media or other forms of communication are not the appropriate venue. You should call 911 if you believe you have information that may help us with this investigation. Particularly if you were a student on campus or an adult on campus that was near the area, that you think you have something to contribute, please call the police to help us with our investigation.
There's any thought about shutting businesses down, like on Fair Street or anything like that? I know they did that in Maine after this.
At this point, we're not mandating that businesses shut, but we are asking everyone to shelter in place, and so we would hope that everyone would stay indoors until they hear otherwise from official City of Providence channels. In this day and age, we know there will be misinformation available online, and so please, when it comes to official updates with regard to the shelter in place and other updates, go to the City of Providence's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of our social media channels. It is clearly marked as the official City of Providence page so that you know you're getting the accurate and official update. The shelter in place is defined as the broader Brown community, Brown neighborhood. Everyone knows that they live near Brown, and certainly if you're on campus. Because we don't have additional information to share at this time about the location of a shooter, we cannot more specifically define it than that. This is a scary time, I know. As many folks know, I live proximate to the campus, and I'm hearing from friends and neighbors. We're encouraging people to stay inside until there are additional updates. Sure.
What is the policy at Brown University regarding firearms? Could a student legally have a firearm in the dorm?
No.
They cannot?
They cannot.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm just asking, was
Yes.
the chief coming in, was he out of state?
I don't know, he's in transit, and he's expected to be here within an hour or two, and so he will be with us at future updates this evening.
What time did the police arrive at the scene after the first officer?
Hold on, Pat, we're going to take Nisha's question first, and Chief is going to be please. What was that?
What time did police arrive at the scene after the first 911 call?
The exact time I don't know, but it's, Ferris and Holly is 184 Oak Street, and it's a very short drive from us, so I would say minutes.
How about for Providence Police? When were they contacted?
Whenever we were called, we responded immediately and immediately entered that building looking for a shooter.
We'll provide a timeline later in the evening.
How often do the various law enforcement agencies prepare for situations like this? Do they do active shooter simulations, trainings, establishing perimeters? Talk a little bit about that training that goes into this multi-agency response.
I certainly, well, certainly welcome you to as well. We just did a few months ago a joint training with Brown PD and Providence PD and Providence Fire and Rescue Task Force. It's something we certainly plan for, practice for, rehearse, but never want to see it come to fruition like it did today. But it is something that we definitely prepare for multiple times throughout the year, and as mentioned, we just had a joint training several months ago.
Colonel? Kate, I would just add, I'm sorry, John, 1 second. I would just add, Kate, that the City of Providence conducted an active shooter drill, a live drill at a closed school about 18 months ago with not just police, but fire, emergency management, and the other various departments and city government that are responding. This is a sad state of our country right now where you have to plan for these things. And hopefully the community takes some comfort to know that their Providence leadership has planned for this occurrence, including very recently.
Colonel, you said that there was a final exam going on in the building. Where's the campus? Are there still more students on campus and some of them taking their exam home?
So a little bit of both. Some students have gone home, but there, as the program said, there's still some activity going on.
We're still in finals. So students who didn't have exams are left, but we're still we're not prepared to release that information right now for the multiple exams in the building.
Hold on, Pat.
Does Brown University receive correction shatter at every time? And in what manner does Brown University police monitor that, or is that turned over to Providence Police right away?
There's a strong partnership and collaboration between Brown University and Providence PD. Any information like that we will share, and we also share it with the Fusion Center as well. As mentioned, we have no verified information, warning, or anything related to today's event.
Hold on a second, John. Dan? I was home with time. Yeah, I was at home watching the PC game and saw lights and sirens go by my house, and at which time Commander O'Hara called me with a very preliminary update, and then have been in touch, and obviously, as you point out, about a block away, very proximate through the rest of the evening.
John is saying, if someone right now feels they may have video that sees someone running by their house, someone acting suspicious, who do you want them to contact?
I want them to contact the police department. Call us up, we'll send a detective out there right away and see what kind of evidence they may have for us.
Should people check ring cameras, businesses?
Yes, they should. If they have a ring camera in the area of the shooting, they should be reviewing that right now and see if there's anything that looks suspicious. We'll follow up.
Follow that question. With that area and all the cameras in that area, you have to have someone.
I don't have anything yet, Dan.
Are you looking for it though?
Absolutely.
Okay, and the conditions of the victims. Of course, the hospital says that there could be more casualties. Can you just gently tell us what the conditions?
We can't speak any further about the condition. They are in critical but stable condition. and we will provide additional updates as they become available. As we've mentioned multiple times, and I will mention again, because it's very important that we be honest and transparent with all of you and with parents and loved ones who are concerned about they've got students who are away at school or they have someone who works at Brown. We're not done yet, and so while we have no other victims at this time that we're aware of, it is possible. And so it's very important that we say that this is preliminary information, that we know that there is a minimum of 8 victims in the hospital at this time, but it is all subject to change, and when those changes or if those changes occur, we will be sure to share them with you.
Maybe one more question. Are you confident in one individual you're looking for?
That's the information we have now.
If you want to get the phone number, you can call.
272-1111 or 272-3121.
As I mentioned, we expect to be providing additional updates throughout the evening. If you're not on our press list, please see Josh, raise your hand. Please see Josh to make sure you get on the press list. That's where we will notify folks about additional availabilities throughout the evening. As we have more information, we will share it. Thank you very much.
Will we more press conferences there here?
We expect there will be, yes.
Okay, a tragic update out of Providence, Rhode Island. 2 people dead. The victims were dead on arrival. 8 other victims are injured, listed in critical though stable condition at a hospital. Those are the only casualties at this time, but officials say that those numbers may change. There is no shooter in custody. The only description they have of the suspect for now is a male who was wearing black. Governor Dan McKee, Providence Mayor Brett Smiley, commending the heroic efforts of the first responders. They spoke of the location of the shooting, Barris and Hawley building. They say it's a building with a lot of lab space. There were students there, either taking exams or studying for exams.
Take out guys and put in loose.
A family reunification center is still being set up.
Guys strings. Take out guys.
They stressed that this is a dynamically evolving situation. They're asking for information from the public if they saw anything. They do not know who the suspect is. Again, just that simple description. A male, dressed in black, and that person exited on Hope Street.
Oh, I can get my
Hope
butt.
Street. Mayor Smiley
But if my mom
giving
what is
the latest, and the Providence City Council saying that there is a reunification center at Nelson Fitness Center at 225 Hope Street. It's for families who are looking for more information about their loved ones. The shelter in place does remain in effect for the greater Brown University area. Exercise caution if you're heading to the Nelson Fitness Center. Yeah, they said that suspect left out on Hope Street. Law enforcement officials asking for information from the public if they saw anything. This is our live vantage point. Looking over Brown University, you can see some of those emergency response units, their lights flashing. Brown University confirming 2
watch this video
people dead.
and just want to watch.
Tragic scene playing out. Just 12 days before Christmas, Brown University saying, "We are very sorry to share that we have confirmed reports of 2 deceased victims from the active shooting situation at the Barris and Hawley Engineering Building. There are 8 additional victims in critical but stable condition at the hospital. There remains a shelter-in-place order."
Squint your eyes and read it.
Officials stressed that this is a dynamically evolving situation. Don't go to the area if you're in the area.
Yeah, send that to your mother on
They are still working this scene actively, and the suspect presumably still on the loose. Speaker Johnson praying for the safety of students and law enforcement at Brown University as we await more information. May God protect everyone affected and bring comfort to their families and loved ones. The officials at the press conference said that they will be sharing updates regularly, and they will be sharing updates for the days to come. They wanted to do this press conference so soon because they know that there's a lot of fear and anxiety in the community. Rhode Island Governor Dan McGee and Providence Mayor Brett Smiley saying that they don't believe that there had been a shooting before at Brown University. So to recap, 2 dead. Those 2 victims were dead on arrival. 8 people, 8 more people are in critical, though stable condition at the hospital. That means 10 total casualties. However, the numbers, they said, may change. This is a fluid situation. There is no shooter in custody. What little description they have of the shooter is that it's a male wearing black. Last they saw, exiting Hope Street, exiting on the Hope Street side of the building. They are telling people to shelter in place still. Stay inside if you're in the area. There is a suspect on the loose. The governor and the mayor commending the heroic efforts of the first responders. They gave a little bit of information, a little bit of details about the building itself that this took place in, the Bears and Holly building. The building that has a lot of lab space. I was reading in the AP that hundreds of labs, and again, the second day of finals at Brown. So students in there, according to the AP, doing the second day of their finals in some cases, and we spoke with a mother whose son at the time was barricaded in one of those classrooms, saying that her son and some other students were there studying for their final exams. Unclear whether there is one or multiple shooters, but they did give the description of that one suspect wearing black, a male wearing black who exited on Hope Street. Residents that are not at home are advised not to return until the shelter order is lifted. It said there were multiple exams scheduled in that building between 2 to 5 p.m., and this happened around 4 p.m. The university is still working to determine who was in the building at the time. Brown police responding to the scene first, followed by Providence police and then by fire departments. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, we've heard that the NYPD is offering their resources to help with the situation in Providence. Mayor Adams saying, I have been preliminarily briefed on the active shooter incident at Brown University. He's praying for all the victims of this tragic attack. The NYPD is coordinating with partners in Rhode Island. Here in New York City, we are deploying additional resources to local universities as a precaution, although there is no information suggesting a connection to our city at this time. New York Governor Kathy Hochul also saying, I've been briefed on the shooting at Brown. New York stands ready to assist in any way we can, keeping the Brown community and everyone impacted by this despicable act of violence in my thoughts tonight. We are getting a live feedback of the scene where we're seeing an ambulance. We had our camera on the ground that had left the scene in order to go film at that press conference, it looked like. Now getting a vantage point from the ground again, and I'll just reiterate too, this is not a local response. It's a local response and a federal response. AG Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel both saying that FBI and the ATF are on the scene of this shooting. Please pray for all involved. Kash Patel, by the way, saying FBI personnel are on scene and assisting this evening after the shooting. and they will provide all capabilities necessary. Patel also saying, please pray for all those involved. We will update when more information is available. There has been extensive mutual aid from local and state agencies across Rhode Island. As you might imagine, this is a massive response to a massive situation. The White House has been briefed. President Trump sending out a post saying that the White House is in the loop, and they confirmed that no suspect is in custody. There was some confusion earlier about whether or not a suspect is in custody. Officials just confirmed it during that press conference. There is nobody in custody, and the one person that they do have a description of is a male wearing black, exited on Hope Street of the building. Although it is unclear whether or not there's one suspect or multiple suspects. That's simply a question we do not have an answer to yet. The entry method into the building is unknown. They don't know how the suspect got into the building. They believe that that suspect was inside the building complex while this event played out. And again, for anybody who is either in the area or knows anybody in the area, one of the main things they're stressing is that the shelter-in-place order remains active and the public is urged to not come to the area. This is an active police operation. There is still no suspect in custody, and they do not know where that suspect is. Police are interviewing witnesses as we speak. They are reviewing video evidence. The investigation remains incredibly active, as the mayor put. More updates are expected. Unclear to us if we expect more updates tonight. They certainly did say that in the coming days they will continue to provide information as they learn more about this horrific situation taking place in Providence, Rhode Island. State resources from the Ocean State, including Rhode Island Emergency Management and state police, have responded. We've seen some of those heavier vehicles. You're looking at one of them right now. Some of these police units are military grade gear.
What the heck? I was in the middle of watching something. I don't care.
Moving to our second vantage point. You know, about 2 hours ago when we first got eyes on this scene, there were more flashing lights on the left-hand portion of the screen. Not seeing so much of that anymore. We're only seeing it on the right half of your screen. Unknown where exactly police may be focusing their investigation right now. It appears that they are asking the public for any and all information that they may have to help them locate a suspect or suspects. And this is what FBI Director Cash Patel posted moments before that press conference got underway. He said FBI personnel are on the scene. They're assisting this evening after the shooting at Brown, and they'll provide all capabilities necessary. Please pray for all those involved. We will update with more information as we are able. It started out about 2 hours ago. We got word of a potential active shooter situation at Brown University. Not too long after that, we heard the potential that there were multiple casualties. It was unconfirmed at the time. Not too long after that, we heard the potential of there being a second scene where another potential shooting had taken place. Officials, thankfully, were later able to sniff that out, and the determined that it was unfounded that there was a second shooting scene. So the initial scene continues to be the primary focus of this event. Eventually we got word that there were, in fact, people injured with gunshot wounds. Brown University saying such, but they couldn't say what condition they were in or how many people were impacted. And then just moments ago at that press conference, they confirmed that at least 2 people have been killed, 8 more critically injured.
There needs to be about 24 more hours in the day.
But the injuries are stable, they say. So 10 total casualties. They also said that this is a fluid situation and additional casualties may be possible. They are uncertain. Vice President saying terrible news out of Rhode Island this evening. We're all monitoring the situation and the FBI stands ready to do anything to help. We're all thinking of and praying for the victims tonight. I'm curious if we can hear anything on this camera. Let's pull up the audio. So, we work with live cameras and all of the video journalists from all of the local media outlets are tracking this story and presumably the national media on their way. A mass shooting taking place at Brown University today. The focus of the shooting appears to be at least in or around the Barris and Hawley building. Hearing from people who are familiar with that building that this is a fairly complex building with lots of ways in and out.
Watch it till the end. It's funny.
Getting word from producer Julie that we have a new vantage point of the scene and a chopper view, courtesy of WCVB. WCVB on top of this active situation at Brown University. Now, 2 people have been killed. Well, the fear is, where is the suspect? That's what authorities are working on. That's why authorities gave a press conference so early on in the investigation. They said they wanted to make sure that they got in front of the cameras early on because they understand that there's a lot of fear and anxiety in this community. We sure heard that as we were speaking with the mother of one of those students who was barricaded in one of those classrooms on the campus earlier in the week. So you see this massive response. Ground level shot. So we've got side of the ambulance. My question is, will we get another update from police tonight? My question is, what and where is the focus of the investigation, now that we know that there is a suspect still on the loose? Unclear, by the way, if it's one suspect or multiple suspects. They did have a description of one possible suspect, a man wearing black. He exited on Hope Street. That's the extent of what we have. Back out to our live aerial vantage point, courtesy of WCVB. We're continuing to get reaction from elected officials, leaders in the area, but no significant updates relating to the search for that suspect, relating to the condition of those 8 people who have been hospitalized. So while we await any more updates from officials, let's rewind. For anybody who may just be joining us, an extensive press conference was held moments ago where the governor of Rhode Island, the mayor of Providence, and emergency officials, they all gathered and they told us what they know so far about the situation, and they are stressing that it's preliminary details at this point, but some of the main points: 2 killed, 8 critically injured, although in stable condition. Unclear if that number will change. They say this is a fluid situation and they are still looking for a suspect. No suspect in custody. Let's play this press conference over again. Let's get it from the top. It begins with the mayor of Providence. His name is Brett Smiley. He handles the majority of the questions.
We'll provide regular updates, but we're going to share what we do know at this time. But please bear with us, as we know sometimes these details shift as the investigation progresses. Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status. They're stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted. We will make regular updates through all City of Providence official social media channels. That's where you can find out more information about the shelter in place, if it changes, when it's lifted. I want to commend the heroic work mutual aid today. Brown Police responded first and then were quickly assisted by Providence Police, who fearlessly and courageously entered and worked through the building, and we'll hear from them in a minute. Providence Fire responded quickly as well and transported several of the victims. The fire department was assisted with mutual aid from across the state of Rhode Island. And as I think we know our community to be, our neighbors have really stepped up in a big way today. And we're very grateful for everyone who has offered assistance and who will continue to offer assistance. The fire department was aided by departments in Warwick, Barrington, Bristol, Brown, EMS, Pawtucket, Cranston, Coventry, Smithfield, East Greenwich, North Kingstown, Woonsocket, Professional Ambulance Company, Situate, and Cumberland. Providence Police and Brown Police were aided by East Providence, Cranston, Cumberland, the State Police, the FBI, and the ATF. Brown, Providence, and the FBI are currently in close coordination as they seek to find the shooter or shooters. The shooting took place at the Barris and Holly building, which is a Brown University engineering and physics building. The building contains both classrooms and lab space. We'll hear from the provost in a minute with some additional updates from Brown. There will be a family reunification center that Brown will be setting up effective at 7 o'clock. Please stay tuned for updates on where that will be. We are encouraging anyone who was a witness to today's action to please contact the police as the investigation is ongoing and they may have critical information. At this time, I'd like to introduce the governor of the state of Rhode Island, who was quick to call and offer assistance and has been in touch with our law enforcement, had the state police respond quickly, and has been a great partner to the city of Providence on this sad day. Governor McKee.
Amen. Yeah, so the unthinkable has happened, and I've been in touch, as the mayor said, to make sure that all the resources that we have, whether it's the EMA, our state police, Department of Health, which we've been in contact with as well, are responding in a way that is being helpful as possible. We've been in contact with the White House as well. Our office has been in contact with the White House. So we will bring all our resources to the table. I've been in touch with Governor Healy as well as other governors who have experienced the same tragedy. So our thoughts go out to those who have been impacted by this in any way, and we'll continue to provide the assistance to the authorities here in Providence, as well as statewide, and continue to make sure that we are doing everything we can to help the families that are, that are suffering right now.
Now I'd like to introduce Chief Rodney Chapman from Brown PD.
My name is Rodney Chapman. I'm Vice President for Brown University, Vice President of Public Safety and Emergency Management, and I serve as Chief of Police as well. As mentioned, and we will mention this several times, this is a very fluid situation and dynamically evolving. Needless to say, my primary concern is the safety and security of this community, and we are encouraging, if anyone has information about the tragic events that unfolded this afternoon, to please contact us and provide that information. At this moment, I do want to say and share that my profound thanks and appreciation for all of the first responders who have come to assist us and all that are gathered right now speaking to continue this investigation, to include all of the City of Providence resources, state resources, and the federal government in terms of the FBI and ATF.
Now, Commander Tim O'Hara from Providence Police.
Good evening, Tim O'Hara, Deputy Chief of Providence Police. So earlier this afternoon, when we received a call for an active shooter inside a building inside Brown University, our officers responded, and as they're trained to do, entered that building immediately and began searching for a suspect. They did a systematic search of the building, however, no suspect was located at that time. They're able to clear that building and provide a safe place for all of students and faculty and workers that were in that building to meet at. Preliminarily, all we have is a suspect that was a male dressed in black. It is unknown how he entered the building, but we do know that he exited.
What? Yeah, it was.
Area is that
Previously, at 4:05 p.m., we were dispatched to the area of Waterman and Thayer for an active shooter incident, where our firefighters, known as a rescue task force, linked up with Providence Police with 2 operational locations at Waterman and Thayer and Waterman and Hope. Rescue task force is a firefighter that wears body armor and has ability to stop any shooting wounds and make sure that any victims are extricated quickly. With the assistance of police in neighboring cities and towns, 8 people were transported. As the mayor mentioned, critical but stable condition, and 2, unfortunately, were dead on arrival. We have a total of 10 victims, but as I caution everyone, this is a developing incident, and we are still actively searching the buildings along with Providence Police to make sure that everyone has gone home safe and that there are no one else that needs our assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And then last, we'll hear from the Provost of Brown University, Frank Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Frank Doyle, Provost of Brown University. I want to reiterate, this is an evolving situation as you've heard multiple times. Our first priority is the safety of our academic community, the campus community, and coordinating closely with law enforcement and medical services. In the meantime, we continue to direct our community to shelter in place in the greater vicinity of the campus. We are working immediately to determine who was in the building at the time of the shooting and any impacts in the shooting. We do know that there were final exams taking place in the building between 2 and 5 p.m. We can confirm that support services are on site. We have been and continue to be very grateful to law enforcement and emergency medical personnel. We have relocated students to get support services at a secure location and will be providing more details. We continue to remain extremely grateful to local law enforcement for their ongoing support. We're committed to keeping our community informed, supporting our students and families, as well as the affected faculty and staff. Thank you.
So before we take questions, I just want to implore the greater Providence community. We are a week and a half away from Christmas, and 2 people died today and another 8 are in the hospital. So please pray for those families. Understand that this is not something our community has gone through together, but I also know this community, and I know that its best moments are when we come together to support one another. It's going to be a difficult rest of the day, difficult weeks and months ahead as this community heals. And each and every one of us can play a small role in that, in supporting one's neighbor and offering that support and their prayers for everyone involved. At this point, we'll be happy to take questions as we go.
Mayor, tell us about the victims, including whether they were all Brown University students.
We cannot disclose any details about the victims at this time, whether they were students or not, or any other details. We will make those details available when they become available. We expect to be providing regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come, and this is too early to be able to provide those details.
Mayor, how did it happen that
something like this might be happening?
The first we learned about today was the 911 call that came in, but we had no other, I don't think, but we had no other notice or threat indicators or anything like that in this case.
Mayor, do you know exactly when Brown University did put out that someone was in custody? How long was that misinformation out for? And how was that determination made and then retracted?
There was an individual who was preliminarily thought to be involved and was later determined to have no involvement, and that's why we can confirm that at this time there is nobody in custody. The length of that investigation or interrogation of that individual, I don't know.
There's a weapon.
Commander?
No weapons have been.
What weapon was used?
We just know that it was a firearm. What type of firearm, we're unaware of.
Mayor, Brown University Police are on top.
Yes, we are.
Commander, do you need a pass to get to that building, or could someone just get in off the street?
I'm unaware of how the security of that building works.
Most of our buildings, after hours, are card swipe, but since it was a final exam, there was probably a lot of traffic in that building.
And where did it happen in the building? Did this take place inside where the exam was going on?
We're still verifying everything. So, and we look at everything right now, that's all part of the crime scene,
Was
so
the
we're
victims
checking.
found like in a hallway, or were they in a classroom?
So we're unable to share that at this time.
Commander, can you say if there have been any confirmed shots fired since the 405 shots?
There was a call that came over for shots fired in the area of Governor Street, but that was unconfirmed and unfounded.
So as far as we know, the gunman has not been seen since around the 4 o'clock hour.
That's correct. The last time that we know that he's been seen was when somebody saw him leaving the building on the Oak Street side of the building. I don't have any more information about his description.
How the individual entered the building?
He exited just the doors at the Oak Street side of the building.
Do police have any video footage of the suspect at this point?
We're working on that right now. We're working along with FBI on tracking down video from that area.
What resources are being used other than video at this point to try to locate the suspect?
Forensic evidence, we're using witness evidence, and we're looking for video mostly right now because we'd like to get an image out as quickly as we can of the suspect.
Having been about close to 3 hours now, but you were in contact with other law enforcement, and we're talking a large perimeter at this juncture. Who else is involved in this now?
As I said earlier, state police are involved, ATF, the FBI, Providence Police Detectives, and all the other squads that we have available to us, the Patrol Bureau, and then our specialty intelligence units and our real-time crime center will be involved as well.
Any multi-state alerts?
Not that I'm aware of.
Has everyone moved that building at this point?
Not everybody, there's still a police presence in that building. That's the crime scene. We're gonna be in that building for quite some time.
Not just students or faculty, bystanders?
Yes, everybody that was in that building at the time has been moved.
Commander, so two deceased and 8 that are in basic critical condition at the hospital.
They're in stable condition at the hospital. We're down in the hospital right now.
Look, you just freaking saw my foot!
That's what we're working on right now, John.
In terms of when that suspect was last seen leaving the building on Oak Street, is that an eyewitness account? Did police see him leave? Was there any interaction with police with that suspect?
No interaction with that suspect with police. That was from eyewitness account.
Chief Deputy from Shelton, I just wanted to know if there's any kind of description you can provide to anybody here right now. I know it's kind of hard, but we don't know what we're looking for, so there's a lot of people on edge. Is there anything that you can give us?
All I can give you is a male, all dressed in black at this time. We're hoping to get something very soon. An image would be the best thing for us to get out there to you guys and everybody else. That I can't confirm.
Do you have an image of them?
I do not have an image of him.
Did he left on foot or did he get to leave?
He left on foot.
Did he go
He exited the building on Oak Street. Where he went from there, we're unsure.
How do you find a suspect city cameras? Makes it very, very challenging.
We have all available resources, and as the governor mentioned, he's in touch with governors in other areas as well. This will be an ongoing investigation. Obviously, FBI, ATF, Providence Police, Brown Police are all actively investigating this as we speak, and we will provide updates as they become available. We expect to provide regular updates throughout the evening and in the days to come. We will share information as we have it with all of you. We knew that this update was preliminary, but we also know that there's a lot of fear and anxiety and concern in our community, and so it was important to get out the details that we do have at this time. At this point, you know all the information that can be shared, and we will keep the community and members of the press corps updated as we go throughout the evening.
Has there ever been a shooting at Brown University before?
To my knowledge.
Commander, has Chief Perez been briefed on this?
Absolutely.
Where is he?
The chief is on his way here and will be at our later press availabilities.
What kind of residents who are living, obviously, in this area that are concerned, they're instructed to shelter in place. If they see something that they feel is suspicious, what is the best way for them to reach out? Can they send pictures? Can they reach out? Obviously, you can call police.
They should call the police. That is the best way. Social media or other forms of communication are not the appropriate venue. You should call 911 if you believe you have information that may help us with this investigation. Particularly if you were a student on campus or an adult on campus that was near the area that you think you have something to contribute, please call the police to help us with our investigation.
Is there any thought about shutting businesses down, like on Fair Street or anything like that? I know they did that in Maine after this.
At this point, we're not mandating that businesses shut, but we are asking everyone to shelter in place, and so we would hope that everyone would stay indoors until they hear otherwise from official City of Providence channels. In this day and age, we know there will be misinformation available online, and so please, when it comes to official updates with regard to the shelter in place and other updates, go to the City of Providence's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of our social media channels. It is clearly marked as the official City of Providence page so that you know you're getting the accurate and official update. The shelter in place is defined as the broader Brown community, Brown neighborhood. Everyone knows if they live near Brown, and certainly if you're on campus. Because we don't have additional information to share at this time about the location of a shooter, we cannot more specifically define it than that. This is a scary time, I know. As many folks know, I live proximate to the campus, and I'm hearing from friends and neighbors. We're encouraging people to stay inside until there are additional updates. Sure.
What is the policy at Brown University regarding firearms? Could a student legally have a firearm in the dorm?
No.
They cannot?
They cannot.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm just asking,
Yes.
was the chief coming in, was he out of state?
I don't know, he's in transit, and he's expected to be here within an hour or two, and so he will be with us at future updates this evening.
What time did the police arrive at the scene after the first?
Hold on, Pat, we're going to take Nisha's question first, and Chief, this might be for you, please.
What was that?
What time did police arrive at the scene after the first 911 call?
The exact time I don't know, but it's Ferris and Holly is 184 Oak Street, and it's a very short drive from us, so I would say minutes.
And how about for Providence police? When were they contacted?
Whenever we were called, we responded immediately and immediately entered that building looking for the shooter.
We'll provide a timeline later in the evening.
How often do the various law enforcement agencies prepare for situations like this? Do they do active shooter simulations, trainings, establishing perimeters? Talk a little bit about that training that goes into this multi-agency response.
Certainly welcome you to as well. We just did a few months ago a joint training, Brown PD and Providence PD and Providence Fire and Rescue Task Force. It's something we certainly plan for, practice for, rehearse, but never want to see it come to fruition like it did today. But it is something that we definitely prepare for multiple times throughout the year, and as mentioned, we just had a joint training several months ago.
Colonel?
And Kate, I would just add, I'm sorry, John, 1 second. I would just add, Kate, that the City of Providence conducted an active shooter drill, a live drill at a closed school about 18 months ago with not just police, but fire, EMS, emergency management, and the other various departments in city government that are responding. This is a sad state of our country right now where you have to plan for these things. And hopefully the community takes some comfort to know that their Providence leadership has planned for this occurrence, including very recently.
Colonel, you said that there was a final exam going on in the building. Where is the campus? Is it Are there still more students on campus and some already taking their exams at home?
It's a little bit of both. Some students have gone home, but there, as the provost said, there's still some there's still some activity going on. Provost?
We're still in finals. So students who didn't have exams have left, but we're still
Final exam for what class?
we're not prepared to release that information right now. There were multiple exams in the building.
Mayor,
Hold on, Pat.
or can I address this to the Colonel?
Yeah.
Does the Brown University receive threatening chatter at any time? And in what manner does Brown University Police monitor that, or is that turned over to Providence Police?
There's a strong partnership and collaboration between Brown University and Providence PD. Any information like that we will share, and we also share it with the Fusion Center as well. As mentioned, we have no verified information or warning or anything related to today's events.
Dan, hold on a second, John. Dan?
Mayor, you live right next to the building, correct?
I was home at the time.
So, getting to come to you, you shelter in place, and you just give like a group. What happened when you found out?
Yeah, I was at home watching the PC game and saw lights and sirens go by my house. And at which time Commander O'Hara called me with a very preliminary update, and then I've been in touch. And obviously, as you point out, about a block away, very proximate through the rest of the evening. John and Dan.
If someone right now feels that he may have the video that you saw, someone running by their house, someone who do you want them to contact?
I want them to contact the police department. Call us up. We'll send a detective out to there right away and see what kind of evidence they may have for us.
Should people check ring cameras, businesses?
Yes, they should. If they have a ring camera in the area of the shooting, they should be reviewing that right now and see if there's anything that looks suspicious. We'll follow up.
Follow that question. With that area and all the cameras in that area, you have to have something.
I don't have anything yet, Dan.
Source of the hospital says that there could be more casualties. Can you just gently tell us what we're going to look into?
We can't speak any further about the condition. They are in critical but stable condition, and we will provide additional updates as they become available. As we've mentioned multiple times, and I will mention again, because it's very important that we be honest and transparent with all of you and with parents and loved ones who are concerned about they've got students who are away at school or they have someone who works at Brown. We're not done yet, and so while we have no other victims at this time that we're aware of, it is possible. And so it's very important that we say that this is preliminary information, that we know that there is a minimum of 8 victims in the hospital at this time, but it is all subject to change, and when those changes or if those changes occur, we will be sure to share them with you.
Maybe one more question. Are you confident that she's the one individual we're looking for?
That's the information we have now.
And you want to give the phone number to these people?
272-1111, 272-3121.
As I mentioned, we expect to be providing additional updates throughout the evening. If you're not on our press list, please Josh, raise your hand. Please see Josh to make sure you get on the press list. That's where we will notify folks about additional availabilities throughout the evening. As we have more information, we will share it. Thank you very much. We expect we will be, yes.
Unclear most of those press conferences will be tonight, or we'll await for further updates tomorrow. We do know that they say that they're giving these updates because community members are feeling anxious in light of this tragic situation. Worth noting that we have our aerial shot courtesy of WCVB. A very active situation as at least one suspect remains at large. The one person that they are keeping an eye on, the one suspect that they do have a description of, they say a male, all black clothes. They say that person left on foot, and they left alone on Hope Street. The Secret Service sending this out.
What you guys
thing.
doing?
We are saddened to learn of the senseless act of
What you guys
violence
doing?
at Brown University.
What are you doing? Why do you keep laying in the potty zone, Tally? That's not gonna teach your puppies to go potty in the potty zone if you're laying in it.
Support needed.
If you're gonna lay on them, take it out of there. Don't need to be
It is
yucky.
time for us here at now.
Don't need to be yucky. You gonna go potty on this? Here, will you wake up and potty on that? Here.
To take a break,
Come over
do
here,
some
go
news
potty.
gathering. This is
Come over here, go
our
potty on it.
bird's eye view once again of the crime scene.
There you go.
The time in Providence, 7:08. Our coverage continuing in a moment.